Hello interwebs, I hope you're doing well, and I hope today's video helps you do even better, because the past few weeks we've been having a lot of hard conversations on this channel, which makes sense because there's been a lot of hard topics that we've needed to talk about. And I'm not sad that we've had those conversations, because I think they're important to have, but I am sad that we haven't had a chance to talk about something exciting and positive for once. And I wanted to take this chance to kind of indulge something meaningful to me, because I actually had the realization that the day that this video goes up, March 10th, will actually be my 5-year anniversary since getting my gender confirmation vaginoplasty way back in 2016. Yes, I'm talking about the downstairs surgery, the one that I can't really get super specific about because YouTube will probably demonetize me if I say something specific. Oh god, well, you know what? We'll just demonetize this right away. I got my penis turned into a vajayjay. God, I'm a dork. I'm a dork. I'm such a dork. I just called my vagina my vajayjay. What am I, Elliot from Scrubs? Anywho, I'm a weirdo. Now that I've officially demonetized my channel, yes, I just wanted to take this video to kind of do a little bit of an indulging and talk about what my gender confirmation vaginoplasty meant to me at the time that I got it, and kind of look back at what it means to me today and what it has sort of, how it's changed my life in meaningful and tangible ways over these past 5 years, and how I sort of feel today about having had this surgery. Even beyond the sort of physical aspects of it, of like the nitty gritty of what's going on down there, which I will talk about. I'll talk about my sensitivity, and I'll talk about how, you know, I've grown in my sort of comfortability with my vagina, things like that. But I also want to talk about what it's meant to me overall in my life, and what it's sort of made me feel and realize about who I am as a person and where I want to go. And I know that's sort of a lot of things to put on your genitals, but I really, just sitting here thinking about it and reflecting on the past 5 years of my life since that surgery, it's really brought into light a lot of different things about who I am as a person, weirdly enough. And I know that seems like a lot, but we'll get into it here. So the first thing that I want to talk about is what it was like getting the gender confirmation surgery at the time that I got it. You know, at the time, I had a penis. I'd been living with a penis my entire life. And while I didn't necessarily have like some dysphoria that many other trans people talk about, which is like hating their penis, being disgusted by it, being horrified by it, I never really felt that per se. What I did feel was this overriding indifference to my penis. I didn't care about it. And while that may not seem horrible to many people, just like think about like anytime that I had sex with somebody, or that I was supposed to be feeling, you know, arousal, or, you know, just walking around day to day, just knowing that it was in my pants, you know, it was just this feeling of like, I don't care. I really don't care. And honestly, that apathy is sometimes, to my mind, even worse than hating something, because at least hating something you have some emotion about. And that apathy that I felt kind of extended to my entire life and my entire body. Like, there's a reason that at one point in my life, I weighed 300 pounds, because I didn't care about my body. And that's not shaming someone who is that weight, but for me it was a very unhealthy weight, an unhealthy feeling. I ate a lot of sugar, I ate a lot of candy, I ate a lot of terrible foods. I did not take care of my body in any way. Again, not shaming anyone who is that body type or eats that way or anything like that, but for me it mentally affected me in ways that were harmful. But what was even more frustrating is I knew that there was this way that my body could be that I would be excited about. Just thinking about getting a vagina, or having this body configuration that more matched what I felt like I was, made me feel excited. And so to know that there was this thing that excited me, a way to live my life and be in my body and exist in myself that would encourage me and excite me, but knowing that I was forced in this body that I just didn't care about, it was depressing. There are reasons why I many times had suicide ideation and thought about suicide around that time. And so after finally coming out and, you know, realizing that I wanted to start transitioning, and when I finally got the ability to have my gender confirmation surgery, which was its own whole process, which I can do a whole video about, I was so excited. The day that I knew that I was going to get gender confirmation surgery, that everything got confirmed with my my insurance company, and, you know, I had the date from my surgeon, was so exciting. At the time, I lived in Los Angeles, but my surgery was going to be in San Francisco. And I'll put my surgeon's information down in the down below for anyone who is interested in that, because Brownstein and Crane is their name, and I think they did a wonderful job, and I'll talk about the specifics of that in a little bit. But I had to go to San Francisco, and so I spent 3 days in San Francisco with a close friend of mine, and we explored San Francisco. We visited Alcatraz. We got to see the city, but really, despite all of that, all I could really think about, I don't even really remember a lot of my time in San Francisco then, because all I could think about was just the next couple of days and how I was going to have a chance to finally be excited about my body for once, for the first time in my life. For the first major time. I mean, I had already started getting more excited about my body earlier than this because I had started hormones, and that sort of process really helped. But this was like the culmination of all of that, to use a kind of climaxy orgasm pun, if I may be allowed. God, I'm a dork. Anyways, but yeah, all I could think about was like this moment. And I'm going to tell kind of a funny story here. My parents flew in. They were on vacation during the time that I was going to have surgery, but they flew in early from their vacation to be with me for the surgery. So they flew into San Francisco, and the night before the surgery, I had to do all the stuff that you have to do before surgeries, like 90/90 food. You have to take an enema, which is not fun, let me tell you that. And then I went to bed, but I just couldn't sleep the entire time. I was just tossing and turning and kind of like, oh my gosh, this is going to actually happen. And here's the funny part, and just shows you how much of a weird dork and a crazy person that I am, I presumed that the hospital that was nearest to my doctor's office was the hospital that I had to go to. I didn't even check the address on the paperwork that they gave me. And so we got up, we were like all about to head to the hospital. We got to the hospital, my parents and everyone went in, and we went in, they're like, oh yeah, you're not scheduled here. What are you doing here? And I'm like, what? I was supposed to have the surgery today. I'm like, no, your surgery is inside the city, like 45 minutes away, and you have to be there in 15 minutes. And I'm like, oh crap. So my parents were so judging me. They're like, oh my gosh, this is so important to you, and you didn't even realize the address of the hospital that you were supposed to be at. So we got in the car, and we were racing into the city of San Francisco early in the morning. Thank God we missed morning traffic by just a hair. We even drove across the Golden Gate Bridge, and so the morning of my surgery, I got to see the sunrise over the Golden Gate Bridge, which I feel like is somewhat kind of symbolic and beautiful. I don't know, maybe not, but I kind of remember that. And the fear I was feeling, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to miss my surgery because of something silly and dumb like that. But thankfully we got there. They sort of rushed me sort of through the intake process, and we got all settled, and I had my surgery. Immediately after the surgery, there was actually a lot of pain. It felt like right after the surgery, it felt like, needing to pee really bad, but being unable to release it. Like, that was the major feeling I was feeling. Everything was kind of sore and painful, but I just felt like I needed to pee, but I didn't know how to at the time for numerous reasons. Like, I had a catheter in me, and there was new junk down there, and I didn't know how to work the muscles and all that stuff, and obviously everything was sore. But that was a lot of the pain I was feeling. But I do remember specifically, I turned to my stepmom, who was with me at the time, and I said, I've got 99 problems, but a dick ain't one. I said that in the fog of coming out from all the anesthesia. Kind of proud of myself for that one. I didn't plan that, but I'm just sort of like, come on, I can give myself a little bit of joy there. After that surgery, there was a lot of time over the next coming months and weeks and honestly the next year where there was still a lot going on down there. There was a lot of swelling, there was a lot of soreness, there was a lot of pain, especially as nerves started coming back online after that point, because for many people who've been through any type of surgery know, for at least almost a year after any type of surgery, the nerves around that area are going to kind of be deadened and dulled, and you're not going to really feel anything, and some of them may not even come back fully. For me, luckily, I was able to get full, or mostly full, feeling back down there for me. But it took about a year for that to happen, and as nerves came back online, I started to feel a lot of pain. So it'd be months after the surgery, and I'd be like, gosh, darn, this is incredibly painful. I even had to sit on a donut, like one of those floaty donuts at the time, so that you could sit down on things. I even remember at the time I was trying to get a job in Los Angeles. I was working at Starbucks in Los Angeles, and I was trying to get a job, and I had to go in for job interviews during my healing process at the time. And I remember going in for an interview and trying my dangest to be professional and uptight. I'm just like, my vagina is on fire right now. And that's like all I could think about. Weirdly enough, got the job. Wasn't a great job, but I had it for the next like year or so, and it paid the bills and everything. But it was just it was kind of funny that like I actually got that one, and all I could think about during the interview was like, my vagina is on fire. Maybe I should think that more often during job interviews from now on. Like, my vagina's on fire. And to talk a little bit about that specifically, I've done videos about orgasms and what it feels like to have orgasms. Like, one of the things they warn you about when you have gender confirmation surgery is you may actually lose the ability to orgasm, just because, like I said, you will lose a lot of like nerve feeling possibly during surgeries. And, orgasms are just nerves just firing off. So if you lose that sensitivity, you will lose possibly the ability to orgasm. And that was something I was incredibly worried about. And also on top of that, there's a whole new package down there for you to like learn about and like figure out, and have to like poke and prod and be like, what does this button do? How does that work? Does that excite me? Nope. That's just annoying. Ooh, this one feels good. And there's also a little bit of fear. I'm not gonna lie with you. It's not like all like sunshine and roses down there for a while. Like I said, there's a lot of pain. There's a lot of soreness. And so especially the first year, there's a little bit of fear that comes with playing with anything or touching anything, because you're like, is this gonna hurt me? Is this gonna cause pain? There's even times where I like tried to play in with like sex toys and things, and I ended up bleeding because of that, because I still wasn't fully healed. So I'd be like doing stuff, and I'm like, that I don't know if that feels, ooh, that hurts. Oh, and there's blood. Yeah, a little bit gory and gruesome there, but that does happen. I'm not gonna lie to you. But now, several years after that, after the surgery, I've kind of hit a place where I am very comfortable exploring my body and my vagina and what makes me excited or not. And actually, I found different ways for me to get excited down there. For example, I used to only be able to get a clitoral orgasm when I was right after surgery, sort of the year or so after surgery. Because for those of you who don't know, during the surgery, the clit is actually, they sort of take the top of your penis and make that your clit. And so that's going to be your most sensitive part of your body, as the clit on a cis woman's vagina would be as well. So so that was sort of an easy way to have some fun, to just poke at that for a while. Obviously, I did a little bit different stuff than that, cause an orgasm to happen. And that felt good, but it's like this like intense pressure in a very specific spot on your body, for short bursts, as you would kind of imagine. And that was fun and interesting, but it was like, it took a lot of work to like only have this like quick moment of excitement. I don't want to say it's not worth the other effort, because it definitely is. It's a lot of work for a very short amount of enjoyment. Let's just put it that way. But now that I've been a few years after that fact, I've actually learned how to do vaginal orgasms, which is like orgasms inside your vagina, your vaginal canal. This is all sounding so very clinical, isn't it? It's so weird. And now I'm actually able to have vaginal orgasms, which are much like, they last a lot longer. They are much more encompassing of the entirety of your lower part of your body. Like, my whole body kind of shakes a little bit when I have those types of orgasms. They aren't as intense, but they are much more encompassing, I guess is the best word. And I kind of enjoy those a little bit better, even though they aren't as intense. And you can marry them with clitoral orgasms as well, sort of having both. That's why you have like some of the toys that you can have that can stimulate both at the same time. But that's been sort of kind of enjoyable to discover all of that, right? And just a fun time to just go in for that and enjoy that part of my body. And that sort of playful experience with your body and rediscovering that. It's also, I should say, it's really weird to have this sort of experience about discovering your own body and being sort of tentative and like slowly go through and exploring what it feels like to have a new part of your body when you're in your 20s. And I'm sure people who have vaginoplasties even later in life, it's even more of a surreal experience, because I spent so much of this time in this work doing that when I was younger, when I was a kid. Even though I was indifferent to my penis, I was still a horny teenager who wanted to explore their body. That's how I knew I didn't like it as much. And so to have to redo that in my 20s was like this surreal experience. Like, I thought I already did this. I thought I was already done. And it was like both exciting and frustrating and anger-inducing in many different measures at many different times. But ultimately, where I sit now is like, I'm just kind of like, more excited with my body and more happy with my body, and I'm just glad that I found things that work for me and enjoy for me and can kind of play with that and use different toys, different aspects. And I'll talk about that in different videos, I'm sure, at some point, about different aspects of, orgasming and things like that. I'll probably try and do it in much more profound ways than right here. But I kind of want to put a pin in that discussion because I'll sort of save it for other videos and gotta have more content on YouTube. But I kind of want to get more to this other thing that I wanted to talk about with this video, and that is what looking back on all of this makes me feel today when I look back on my gender confirmation surgery. Because today, one of the things that interests me is, like I sort of just talked about, is how everyday and mundane having my vagina feels. Don't get me wrong, I am excited about it and happy to have it, but that's the thing. It's a part of my body that feels like me, feels encouraging, feels like something I'm just happy to have. But it's not like this big celebratory moment every single time I realize that I have a vagina. Now, don't get me wrong, there is an element of that from time to time, especially right now as I sort of look back. I'm sort of like, yes, I did it, I got it. But in my day-to-day, it's just sort of like a part of my body now. And it's not a part of my body that causes me indifference or disdain, but it's a part of my body that's like, yeah, that feels good. That feels right. And it's sort of weird to sort of sit here and think and look back and be like, and realize how every day my vagina has come to my body, which I feel like many other people who are comfortable with their body from birth feel, or at least, after they go through sort of, biological puberty sort of thing. Because heaven knows we're not all comfortable with our body, cis or trans, when we're born. But sort of realizing that I've hit that stage in my life where it's like, oh yeah, this is just my body now, is kind of a wonderful feeling, to be completely honest with you. When you're a trans person who wants to have gender confirmation surgery, and not all trans people do, but if you are, you spend so long dreaming about it, fighting for it, fighting the insurance companies, fighting legislation if there's legislation against it in your state, fighting to make finances work for it, fighting to ensure that this is the right thing that you want for yourself, going to see therapists. There's so much effort and work and drive that you need to have in order to have these surgeries. And there's a lot we could talk about within that, the sort of things that should be in people's way or should not be in people's way when it comes to getting gender confirmation surgeries. But you spend all that energy doing it, and to finally get it, and you think about it so all the time in your own head, that to finally get it, it's like this big, big moment. And you think it's like, yes, I did it. This is going to be great. It's going to be like dancing every day and running through the sun, the fields. But it becomes mundane. And that's honestly the goal, for it to become mundane. But it is so weird to be like, oh, this is something that defined so much of a part of my life. In fact, almost all of my life when I was younger, I thought about it all the time. And then this like sort of 2-3 year stint where it was like all I was fighting for, to now it's just sort of being every day. And it kind of led me into thinking about like how that's changed me as a person, because it's kind of made me realize what it's led me to be as a person. Because what frustrates me is sort of realizing like the fight that I fought, that all that stuff that I went through was to just get to a place where I just feel comfortable in my life and in my body. It was this huge fight, both with my own mind and with the world and with legislation and all that stuff, to just get to a place where I just want to exist in my body. And we have so politicized what it means to be transgender. We've so politicized trans surgery and puberty blockers. We see that today with all the laws that are happening across the United States and the UK over trans rights. For example, the horrific law that was passed in Alabama that made it a freaking felony to give trans-affirming health care to under 19-year-old kids. It's become this political thing, this political avenue, when all it is just getting to a place where I feel just happy to be in my body. Happy to just exist every single day instead of having to waste so much time and effort thinking about it. I can just be myself and focus on other things in my life now because I don't have to take up that mind share all the time. And it's sort of like, looking back, it just sort of made me realize why I fight for trans issues, both on this channel with the things that I talk about on this channel and in the writing that I do, and when I just talk to other people and advocate for, understanding what it means to be trans in my everyday life. The reason I do that is not because I want to have some political culture war, because I want to like fight the left versus the right or the upper class versus the lower class. No, all it is I just want trans people to have what I have, to be able to have the ability to just live their lives in a way that makes them feel comfortable without having to think about this every single day, to have to fight these fights every single day, both within their own mind and within the real world, both with, surgeries and legislation and with doctors and things like that. Like, it just takes up so much time and so much thought process. And you don't realize how much that limits you. To have to think about that all the time, to have that be a part of your brain all the time. And so, while I do have to talk about politics and how politics influences trans legislation on this channel, because that's what the world has done to what it means to be trans, I want to leave you with this. To fight for trans rights should not be political, because all you're doing is just fighting for people to be able to live their lives like everyone else, to be able to focus on things that make them happiest rather than focus on things that just makes them focus on fights just to get themselves comfortable in their own body. We all deserve the chance to be comfortable in our own bodies, especially when we have the ability to do so. Things like surgery and hormones and medical care are all things we have the ability as a society to provide. So why are we not doing it more? Why do we put barriers like financial barriers and political barriers between these things that can just make people enjoy their life more? And yes, I have made this personal video into a semi-leftist rant. That's what I'm going to do. But I think that's just important to remember. And so that's just what made me, that's what I was thinking about and reflecting on now that it's been 5 years since my surgery, about the mundanity of my comfortability with my body and how beautiful that is, to just live comfortably in my body in a mundane way, and how much I want to fight for other people to have that chance. Whether it is gender confirmation surgeries or access to hormones or things like that. It doesn't always have to be gender confirmation surgery, because not every trans person wants that. But yeah. And why that I also extend that to other minority groups too. I try to be an ally to other minority groups as best I can, because it's a similar fight in many ways. It's just about fighting to be able to live our lives comfortably in our own bodies. Whether that's, worrying about our bodies being protected from different political groups like the police and things like that, or other things like surgery or medical care. Because it's all, in many ways, kind of the same fight. Just a fight to live our lives comfortably, happily, in the mundane. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was informative and interesting for all of you. I kind of touched upon a myriad of different things. Thank you for letting me ramble in my sort of indulgent way in this video. I knew it was going to be a little bit indulgent, but thank you for indulging me. Don't forget to comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts about what I've said. I don't mind a little bit of playful sexual innuendo if anyone wants to in the comments, but just try and keep it a little bit, don't objectify me is all I ask. I don't mind a little bit of, like, if you want to have some like sexual jokes or whatever in the comments, I don't mind that. Just make sure you allow for my agency within those jokes, because I know that's going to happen in the comments. Don't worry, I totally understand that. Don't forget to subscribe as well, and also I have a Patreon if you want to help support me doing what I do here on this channel. But beyond all of that, I hope that you, as always, live long and prosper. Patrons, it is time to assemble! Catherine Lambeth, Miranda Janelle, Ashley Allen, Bokikio, Eli Bergmoss, Ashlyn Solstice, John Cool, Greg Gillum, Stephen Kleinard, Chamomile T, Randy Thompson, Wellington Marcus, Boyd Earl, and Mary Beth Earl, Stephen Schuhart, Wayne Twitchell, Auntie Kate, 808, Rick Osborne, Dominic Noble, Ish the Mad, Buttoneer, John Steele, Meadow Whisperer, Gavin Robinson, Michael Beam, Munir Amlani, BBD, Jason Knott, Hannah F, Andrew K, Bree Beecher, Jasmine, Sky Skinner, Maeve, Skylar Gray, Flynn Nathan Steele, Tiffany Danger, Sean Piper, Geek Filter, Jane Packard, Wen Dizzle Bizzle. Why do I do this to myself? Sarah Bystam, James Karate, Jacob Tovar, W. Randy, Edie, Mari Neckar, Bush, Celestial Dawn, Din, Mark the Edge, Pissed and Twisted Garage, Lily, Polly Mina, Laura Demo, Lisa, Nikki Gordon, Bloomfield, Andrew, Lamoureux, Zone 1 Librarian, Jenny Mabel, Michael Hardy, and finally Corey Honkanen and Vale. Done. All right, not my best patron rap, but I figured it would still be fun for you to see all my failure on screen, immortalized in every video this month. Also, I know I mixed Captain America and Superwoman. Deal with it. But thank you, honestly, to all my patrons. I really appreciate all of you, and you really mean a lot to me. I would not be able to do this without you. Thank you so much for supporting me being an absolute dork and weirdo. I wish you all the best.